Porcupine Productions presents a tale of history, hubris, and the man who should never, ever be trusted with a lanyard and a microphone. Join us, dear listeners, as we descend into the hallowed halls of learning, guided by the world's worst docent. Will you leave tonight wiser, or merely wondering why George Washington's axe supposedly ran on electricity? Stay tuned for The Docent.
Tonight's broadcast of The Docent is brought to you by Slumlord Soap. Are your tenants restless? Are they demanding frivolities like heat or windows? Calm them down the easy way with the fresh floral scent of Slumlord Soap. One whiff, and they'll forget all about their leaking roofs and unpaid wages. Why, some say it smells so good they don't even notice the rats anymore. Remember, folks, when it comes to cutting corners, always wash your hands of it with Slumlord Soap. Now, back to the Docent.
Good afternoon, everyone. Gather round, gather round. My name is Preston, and I'll be your docent today, though I prefer the term historical narrative sculptor. Welcome to the Tenement Museum. This museum honors the scrappy folks who lived here a long time ago, before gentrification was invented. Mostly immigrants. They were poor, but plucky and determined. We've meticulously and authentically preserved several examples of how people lived in these buildings. Thanks to generous donations, we've been able to recreate exactly how they looked before they were condemned in the 1960s. We hope to give you a glimpse today of how successive waves of German, Irish, Italian, Jewish, and later Eastern European, Puerto Rican, and Chinese immigrants made their lives here on the Lower East Side before they left and went, I don't know, somewhere else. Maybe New Rochelle? It's all very noble, or tragic. Honestly, it depends on the lighting. I also want to share, on a personal level, how my family is connected to these apartment buildings and the museum itself. My great-grandfather, Silas Preston, came to this country with only a moderate personal fortune. He purchased many of the buildings on this block, including the ones you'll be touring today. In fact, his sale of them in the 1950s is the source of much of our family's passive wealth to this day.
So are you saying your grandfather was a slumlord?
Great, grandfather. But please, slumlord is an offensive term. He provided low-income housing to the most vulnerable and marginal and often unhygienic of people. Now, before we begin, a few housekeeping notes. Flash photography is allowed, but please don't touch anything inside the apartments. Not only to preserve the exhibits, but also because the people who lived here were likely riddled with diseases like cholera, and honestly, who knows how long germ spores survive. Shall we begin? Okay, everybody, please follow me inside. Please watch your step, ma'am. Yep, here we go. And here we are, one of the original hallways. This section of floor, right here, is completely authentic. That hole, been there since the 1930s. A Polish seamstress fell through it in 1936, but she survived by landing on her cousin, who was slightly shorter and heavily padded with winter coats. Truly a testament to immigrant resilience. Now, as we walk, I'd like to share a few facts about the people who once lived here. Many of them came with nothing, and I don't just mean financially, I mean nothing. No skills, no English. Some even lacked proper shoes. They rarely had teeth. Often multiple families would share a single room with one chamber pot and a single bar of soap they passed down like an heirloom.
Excuse me? What did you just...
I'll take your questions in a moment, ma'am. It's important to remember that these early immigrants brought with them rich traditions, colorful superstitions, and occasionally livestock. Some of them never left the neighborhood their entire lives, which speaks to their commitment to community, and also their intense fear of elevated trains and non-dirt roads. Yes, I see your hand, ma'am. As I said, I'll get to your questions in a moment. Now, you'll notice the dim lighting. We've kept the lights at that hue to preserve the historical accuracy. My great-grandfather took care to make sure the lighting was always sparse because immigrants didn't like to look at one another. Many of them thought a person could steal your soul by looking you in the eyes. They believed that only old gypsy women wielding curses stared directly at a person.
I'm sorry, what? That's crazy. What you're saying is crazy.
Ma'am, I know it may sound crazy to us today, but please reserve your judgments and try not to impose your modern values on these people. They deserve to be seen with dignity.
No, I didn't mean them.
I know you didn't mean any harm. Just try to be more understanding in the future. Let this be a teaching moment. Well, a teaching moment for me, for you, a learning moment.
No, that's not what I meant.
Well, we'll leave that issue for now. We're about to step into one of the nicest apartments in the building. So if you'll all follow me, please. And here we are, apartment 2B, one of the finest units in the building, truly the penthouse of the poor. As you can see, the living space is modest, but has a quiet, understated elegance and dignity.
Oh my God, it's tiny.
Mommy, what's that smell?
Actually, a family of 8 would have slept here, cozy and comfortable. This original coal-burning stove was a centerpiece of the home. It served as a heater, a cooking device, and, on special occasions, a room deodorizer when someone remembered to light a clove. Over here, we have the wash basin. Immigrants would use this to clean themselves, their children, and any livestock. This was the good chair. Only the father sat here, or the eldest son, or whichever male relative had the least to tuberculosis that week. Now, it's important to understand that even though these families had very little, they were rich in tradition. For instance, many Eastern European households practiced the ancient art of not throwing anything away, ever. To this day, you can find onion skins from 1907 in the walls. Ah, yes. Authentic atmosphere. Don't worry, the mold has been tested once.
And this is the best unit?
Oh, yes. This window? Pure status symbol. A view of the alley.
That's a joke, right? You can't be serious right now.
No, not at all.
This is awful.
Well, from our privileged vantage point, yes, but what you have to understand is that these people lived in cramped hovels back in the old country. They preferred lodgings here that reminded them of home. Anything better than this level of accommodation would have made them uncomfortable and thrown them into what socioeconomists call a death spiral.
Wait, what's happening right now? Is this real?
I'm just as confused as you are.
Let's press on to a smaller and less ostentatious apartment.
Oh God, this is even worse.
Welcome to apartment 2A, a more intimate and, dare I say, minimalist domestic space. This unit housed a single mother, her 7 children, and a goat. We don't know where the goat slept. Probably in a loft, as was customary.
Mommy, Look at that picture on the wall. That man looks like he's hanging by his neck.
Ah, yes. One of our most poignant pieces of tenant folk art. That's actually a portrait of my great-grandfather, Silas Preston.
He's hanging by his neck from a noose.
No. That's a frequent mistake from the untrained eye. See, that's clearly just his long tie fluttering in the winter wind as he came to visit his tenants. He was well known for his dramatic fine silk neckwear. Very on trend for the late 1910s.
Are those rats cheering?
A symbolic gesture. Rats were a common motif in immigrant art, standing for perseverance. Or joy. Or maybe jazz.
I don't think you're right. I really think that's a noose.
I can assure you, ma'am, it's an homage. It was very common in proto-New Deal folk art to honor one's patrons by representations on walls. Okay, let's all file back into the hallway. Bad news. Our much-beloved exhibit on the communal bathroom, where we normally explore issues of sanitation, sibling nudity, and the history of shared buckets, is unfortunately closed until further notice, or at least until the lawsuit is settled. However, that leaves us time to explore one final apartment. I'm sorry, we can't actually go inside the apartment. For one thing, we can't all fit. It's not nearly as roomy as the last place. But you can all stick your heads in as we pass by. But don't breathe in too deeply. Hantavirus is a bitch. So the last family that lived here were the Bernsteins. My great-grandfather, Silas, took a great interest in the eldest son, who was quite academically gifted. He wanted to take him under his wing and offered to pay for his college education to become an accountant. Turns out, though, that the family's name only sounded Jewish, so he didn't actually do it.
Do you know how offensive this is? All of this?
I know. But, in my great-grandfather's defense, where he came from and the social circles he ran in, he didn't know that non-Jews could be named Bernstein too. And people at the time, he didn't know that Protestants could be accountants too. And no one trusted Catholics with their money.
Oh my God, enough. This tour is over now.
Well, thank you all for your attention and for visiting the Tenement Museum. Please make sure to leave a Yelp review and remember to tag me, Preston Hayward. It's been a pleasure educating you today. I take tips, by the way, but only in Bitcoins to avoid taxes and governmental tracing. Let me know if you want my crypto wallet address. Bye now. Bye-bye.
And that was The Docent, written and produced by Corey Schweitzer, featuring the voices of Phil Sisikis, Marta Carlson, George McRobb, and Corey Schweitzer. Additional voices by 11 Labs. Tune in and subscribe to hear more Porcupine productions of both original and archival vintage radio programs. Thank you, and good night.